Hey, it's Dougie Wood, and in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about what are SharePoint lists. What I'm going to be doing is essentially starting off by showing some examples of SharePoint lists, and then we're going to go through and actually understand what they are and how to build them out further. So, fundamentally, a SharePoint list is essentially like very similar to a document library. Now, this is an example of a document library where we've got actual files, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, things like that stored in them. So it's like a SharePoint library is a list, but for storing specific documents, whereas a list is purely just rows of data. Think of it almost like a mini database or like an online spreadsheet. So you can see this example of a SharePoint list. It isn't actually files which are stored against this, it's just rows of data. In fact, if I was to click on one of these items, it would just open up a form and show the actual item itself in more detail. Now, we can create SharePoint lists really easily, and actually, it's probably the best place to start off. So if you navigate to the homepage of the SharePoint site that you want to create your SharePoint list on, you'll notice under the New button, you have this option of List. Now, this is a fantastic place to actually see some real examples of SharePoint lists to get a bit of a feeling for what you can use them for. So, there's a bunch of templates that Microsoft offer to you completely for free, and they're always kind of updating these and adding to them. But it gives you a good bit of an idea and guidance of what you could potentially be using SharePoint lists for. So, for example, we have an issue tracker, employee onboarding, event itinerary, asset management, recruitment tracker, travel requests, work tracking, content scheduling, playlists, gift ideas, expense tracker, recipe tracker, reading lists, apartment hunting, job application, and product support metrics. Now, not obviously all these are going to be of use directly to you, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what potentially you could be building. Now, if you click on one of these templates, it will show you what it would look like once you start using it. So inside of a SharePoint list, we have what we call columns. So here's some example columns. We have an issue, so it's like the name of the issue, the issue descriptions, a bit of kind of more text around the issue, the priority. Now, this is a choice field, so we can actually have multiple different options in there, or you can even multi-select. Same with status. Assigned to would be like a people field so that we can tag people against. Date reported would be a date and time field, and you could put time against if you wanted to. You can have hyperlinks, so issue source, which basically would click off to maybe like a third party website. Images, so we can take pictures or upload pictures from our computer. Same with associated files, we can attach files to this. And issue log by, this would be a people column as well, which you can look up based on their Microsoft 365 profile, type in their name and tag them against it. So that's just a really good example. To actually create a new list, though, is really simple. You've got a different options, as like either from templates or you can create one from an existing SharePoint list. You could create a blank one, which is completely brand new. It would have no columns inside of it other than the default title field. You could create one from an Excel or CSV. So actually, if you already got all this data in an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV, you can import it, and it will actually know the columns inside of the spreadsheet, and it will import the data at the same time as well. I just wanted to pause for a second to ask a quick favour from you. If you're enjoying this video, please do subscribe to my channel. It's a free way that you can say thank you to me, and I really appreciate it. If you need any professional assistance with SharePoint, you can reach me by using a contact link inside the video description below or on my YouTube page over there. In fact, the one I built out was this known issues list that I embedded, and I have a separate video about how I built this and embedded it into the SharePoint site. But I'm just going to run through some of the columns in there and show you how we can add some additional columns as well. Now, to navigate to a list, if it's not across the top, you can easily get to any list that you've created on SharePoint site by clicking on the cog and then clicking on Site Contents. This will take you to all the lists and libraries on that particular site. Then all we need to do is find the list. So in this case, it's known issues. And this is going to take me to my list that I created completely from scratch. Now you can see I've got a title column. The title column is actually a default column. I do suggest that you keep it there. When you create a SharePoint list from scratch, this is the only column that you'll have. We then have description. So again, there's a multiple line of text. Countries, which is a choice field. Update, which is a description field, and the next update expected, which is date and time. Now we can add more columns to this at any time by clicking on this Add Column button. So if I click on Add Column, you can see the different types of columns that we can add. We have text fields, choice fields, date and time, multiple lines of text, person. So we spoke about all of these so far and what we can do with them. We've also got the number column. Now, a number column is really used for things like if you're wanting to order. So we can use these columns to filter or sort to find the list items that we're looking for. So number might be, it could just be like an ID number, for example, of something. If you were storing, say, this was an asset register, maybe like the devices, the laptops, mobile phones, or whatever that you're storing in here might have particular sort of barcode numbers that you wanted to store against this. You then have a yes/no column. So this could be, say, for example, if these items, for example, if they're known issues, if it was like a P1 most urgent, priority one type of issue, we could have a column that says, is this a P1 issue, yes or no? And it's literally just yes or no. And in fact, it's a little checkbox that you can just tick next to something. Again, it could be used to sort of filter, so we could only see things which are priority issues. Hyperlink, let's say, if we want to link to something that's got a URL. Currency. So again, this is like the number field in the fact that we can enter individual numbers, but this actually is going to recognize it as a currency, which again, if you were to do any kind of exporting of the data afterwards or doing any form of analysis and it was monetary value, of course you'd want to then put against it the actual currency, so that other tools like Excel, if we exported it to Excel, would understand that was actually monetary value. Location is essentially like using the ability of a map to pinpoint somewhere, or you could even use a room or a building location. Image, let's say we can set an image for an item, upload an image. Then we have things like managed metadata, and this is getting a lot more advanced. It's referred to as using terms or tags managed by your organization. Now, the best way for me to describe what managed metadata is everyone's been on clothing websites before where you're looking to buy a particular item and you might have found yourself going through the navigation bar and actually filtering by, say for example, if I'm looking for this t-shirt, I might go under men's, and then under men's it would be t-shirts, then under t-shirts I might be looking for an extra large t-shirt that is black. Now, all of those things are actually individual tags which are part of a managed metadata structure. So this is obviously for way more complicated, advanced type of tagging, but it's just worth knowing about. Then we have lookups. So if you're having multiple SharePoint lists, let's say, for example, you're building a bit of a CRM system or kind of a customer relationship management system, you might have a list of all of your customers, as in their physical names, like Dougie Wood, Joe Blogs, and then you might have another list for all the company names, Contoso, blah, blah, blah. And then you might have another list for products, for example, that we're selling to those customers. Then what you can do is you can use lookup. So you could have your master list of, say, for example, you have another list, which is your orders list, and then you look up the customer's name, you're looking up the company name, you're looking up the product, and you can pull through items. So if, say, for example, I had product A, product B, product C, but product A price was £100, product B was £200. If I was to select on product A, it would pull through the product name along with its associated cost. We then have average rating, which lets people rate an item to see the average rating. So this might be really good. Say, for example, you had a list of all your suppliers that you're using, and you can let your employees actually submit a rating against each one of these. And then you can also add content types, basically where you can go and create your own versions of these. But again, that's a lot more of a kind of advanced feature set. And just like with document libraries, we can actually filter and sort these CODs by this data once we have it entered. So, for example, if I was only looking for known issues in a particular country, say, for example, the UK, I could filter that down and then see, for example, we've got the VPN connection failure issue here. Now, we can also choose to create views based on these filters. So, say, for example, I know this is a terrible example because I've only got 3 rows of data inside of this list. But say, for example, there's hundreds or thousands of rows in here, and I only want to see the UK ones. I could always save this view to come back to it later as well. So if on this drop down, I click here and then click on Save View, I could call this my UK view. Make sure you have this ticked, this make this public view, so that everyone else that drop down can see it. If it's only a personal view, as in only you will be accessing this, say for example, if there was a column here which was say who's assigned to it, and I was tagged against it and I filtered by me, obviously that probably is a view that only I would want to see afterwards. Whereas in this case, I want everyone to be able to see this, so I'm going to make sure that this box is ticked, click on save, and now what I can do is I can move between the all items view and the UK view. Again, I could do this for each country. So if I drop down, filter by France, click on apply, drop down, click on save view, call this my France view, and there we go. So now I can move between the all items view, the France view, and the UK view really simply and easily, just like that. But as I say, there's multiple ways that we could approach this as well. So we could be sorting it by A to Z. We can even group by as well. So another fantastic way to see this is if we wanted to group by country. And again, I could save this as a view, call this by country, and then again, move between my all items by country view, and then I can group the individual known issues by country.